the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, home to the historic Indy 500, where the fastest and bravest in open-wheel oval racing have met each year for over a century. And in 2019, it's also home to a different kind of racing. This year, the Fernando Alonso Racing Logitech G team pitted themselves against the McLaren Shadow esports team in an innovative sim racing event. Within the grand surroundings of the Indy 500 itself, they took to the virtual version of the track in Forza Motorsport 7 and battled for supremacy. Representing the McLaren Shadow esports team were Ollie Parkala, Bono Huis, and 2018 Logitech G Challenge champ Igor Fraga. Facing off against them were FA Racing Logitech G's Christian Kwiatkowski, Matt Malone, and W Series star Jamie Chadwick. For all the racers, it was a big moment, and for Igor, it was another chance to enjoy the unique opportunities earned by winning the 2018 Logitech G Challenge and the McLaren Shadow project. A series of 3 10-lap qualifying sessions would determine the starting grid for the race, which would also take place over 10 laps. A mix of raw pace, racecraft, and strategy would be needed to prevail, and all the drivers went in having undergone rigorous preparation.
For the race today, I've tried obviously get used to the oval racing. That's something what I don't usually do. Indy cars differs from the Formula cars what I drive quite a bit. Well, you have a lot of downforce and whatnot, but the driving style is different. Here you need to be a more strategic.
The Indy car comparing to the F1 car, it's a little bit more aggressive, let's say.
Well, an F1 car compared to like an Indy car? Well, the biggest difference is one's designed to turn left and the other one goes left and right. So that would be the biggest difference. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know everything about the inner workings of the mechanically and how they work, but I know they're both extremely fast and loud and exciting.
So they're all coming in around the track now. They're about to start their first flying lap here. They've got 10 laps to get their best times in, and I'll do my very, very best here to let you know exactly what their times are. Ollie then back into the 39.5s right now. We've got a 39.459 then to a 100th of a second off of his quickest time for Bono Huis. Watching Christian here. Can he looks most likely to close the gap to the Shadow guys, but currently he's only produced a 39, well I say only, a 39.491 is still a very quick time indeed. Hugging that wall is a 39.431 then for Ollie Parkala. And actually Igor went quickest on the last lap with a 39.382.
Igor took the initiative in qualifying, setting a 39.382, which wouldn't be beaten throughout the 3 sessions. Barely a tenth separated him from teammate Ollie Parkala though, who earned P2 with a lightning-quick 39.431. Bono Huis made it a shadow lockdown across the top 3 with his 39.435, just 0.004 of a second slower than Ollie over the lap. Christian Kwiatkowski qualified fastest of Fernando Alonso Racing's roster with a 39.466, followed by Matt Malone on 39.542 and Jamie Chadwick's 39.578. An incredibly tight qualifying session then, with just 0.2 separating first and last. Beginning the race from a commanding position occupying all 3 of the top slots, the Shadow racers nonetheless had a lot to consider before the lights went green.
The strategy for the race is just not fall far from the pack because there is a lot of slipstream.
It's a 6-car race, you know, so you don't have a far to do many mistakes, or if you start battling against each other, you need to make sure that you don't lose time.
My strategy for the race today is just hold that inside line, because these guys over here with Shadow, they're gonna, any little inch that you give them, they're gonna take it.
Slipstream will be the key, and you need to be there on the slipstream at all times, because if you lose the slipstream, then you lose the position and you lose the race.
The finishing line will be very tight with all the cars, so you cannot be doing any mistake. You have to be inside of the pack, and when you have a chance, go ahead, I think.
I like to, be intuitive when I do racing, so I'm feeling confident I can do some intuitive, should be good race.
And we are good to go here. So 10 laps of Indianapolis Motor Speedway here in the IndyCar on Forza 7 by turn 10. We've got McLaren Shadow versus Fernando Alonso Racing in a winner-takes-all.
Ollie got the best start off the line, going clear of Igor, who bogged down on the grid and then lost another place as Bono snuck up the inside going into turn 1. Christian also made a great start, tucking in behind Bono and taking P3 as the pack entered the first turn, while Jamie and Matt watched the scrap unfold from P5 and P6. That running order lasted only as far as the opposite end of the brickyard though, when Igor seized his opportunity to drive down the inside of Christian and retake the final podium spot. Fair driving from both competitors. While Bono looked for a way past Ollie, Igor carried that momentum all the way into P2 at the beginning of lap 2. A bit of contact between Bono and Christian during turn 1 of lap 2 saw the shadow driver drop down to P4, while Igor lined up Ollie but couldn't quite find a way past. While those two squabbled for top spot, Christian and Bono gained ground behind. Then halfway through lap 3, disaster.
Actually, he's been turned. Igor Fraga and Bono come together. It looks like there may have been a bit of contact between Christian and Bono, and Igor facing the wrong way now. So it's a 1v1 situation. Ollie Pakala of Shadow versus Christian Kwiatniewski of Fernando Alonso Racing.
Contact between the shadow cars of Igor and Bono sent both of them spinning out and into the bottom of the running order. Bono pitted immediately, while Igor stayed out and tried to regain lost ground. That left a huge gap between Ollie and Christian in first and second and the rest of the pack. They continued to duke it out until lap 6, when Christian finally found a way past and broke free of slipstream range. Ollie caught right back up at the end of lap 7 though, and moved back into P1 with a confident move down the inside. Sadly for the other drivers, the gap between themselves and the front pair couldn't be bridged, but the scrap for the final podium place was still on, and Jamie Chadwick held onto it with a vice-like grip. Having led for most of the race, Ollie began the 10th and final lap with Christian just inches from his rear wing, and looked set to take the victory, until the very last corner, when loss of rear grip on the corner exit sent him sideways and scrubbed off his speed. Momentary contact between Ollie and Christian sent the shadow racer into the wall, while Christian went on to take the win. Jamie Chadwick managed to pit Ollie to the finish line and claim P2 for FA Racing, while Ollie finished P3 less than a second behind. Matt Malone then claimed 4th, while Igor and Bono sustained damage to their cars in that heartbreaking lap 3 incident and rounded off the finishing order. All told, this was a strong performance from the FA Racing Logitech G team, and above all, a learning experience for all the drivers who got to demonstrate their skills on the grandest of motorsport stages. Racing at the Indy 500 wasn't just another competition. It was a chance to show the world just how much the line is blurring between motorsport and sim racing, and the level of training and dedication that go into both.
It's very different, but it's interesting, how the guys that come into esports actually go into real racing and how competitive they are. So there's got to be some similarities in there, and it's super tough and competitive. So I think that's quite similar. But yeah, it's interesting, as the games develop, how much, you can compare the two like for like.
I got involved in the first simulator over in Europe and in the beginning here in the United States, with some of the NASCAR team, and the improvement that the simulation side has done in the last 6 years has been comparable to what we have done on real world in the last 35 years. I can talk to you with confidence. We use simulation as a tool to improve what we do on the racetrack. I would definitely say that nowadays, without the simulation side, we would not have as good races and as good race cars as we have nowadays. It becomes an essential part of the sport, almost like a tire or fuel is.
IndyCar driver Joseph Newgarden, who finished 4th overall at the 2019 Indy 500, also dropped in to say hi and give his 2 cents on sim racing.
Well, what I love about simulation now is it's giving so many people an opportunity to try racing. You can see if you have a skill set, if you have a talent within the sport, figure out how to get involved in that way, get into the new simulation competitions that we have. Esports is such a growing industry, and racing has such a big presence. So push yourself to find ways to get into those different avenues that are created for drivers, and hopefully from there maybe you can get an opportunity to race in real life if that's what you're looking to achieve too. But esports is becoming so big, maybe you just want to become an esports driver. So nowadays, the sky's the limit, I think, for most people, and that's really a good thing, so that we can find more talented drivers in the world.
Stay tuned to Logitech G for more on the 2019 Logitech G Challenge.